back, fam, and I know it's been a while, but you could obviously see why. I had my daughter. Her name is Collette Clifford. She weighed 4 pounds and 2.5 ounces at birth, and she was 17 inches long. Let's see if we can get her to say hi real quick. Hello, everybody. Hello. Today I'm going to tell you guys about the day I went into labor at 33 weeks and had her 6 weeks early. Before I get started, I just want to say I am so thankful for all the support from all of you guys. It has been crazy. Right now, 4,000 of you want to see my videos, and that is just crazy to me. So I really appreciate all of the support, and it just means a lot to me and my baby girl. And again, I'm sorry it took so long for me to come up with this video and get this out for you guys, but obviously it's been crazy. I was in the NICU for 2 weeks, and then just getting back into a normal schedule and getting used to being a mom, but I'm finally on a good routine, and I just needed a little break, so I really appreciate you guys just letting me have that break for a little bit. Alright, well, the story starts on February 10th. It was a Saturday, and my sister had just drove all the way from Texas to come to Florida and attend my baby shower, and she was moving here, and her friend was here. And so I had just been hanging out with them. I go to the bathroom, and this might be TMI, but I had a lot of clear, watery discharge, and I was like, that seems like amniotic fluid. I had a baby before, but if I would assume what that was, I would assume it was my fluid leaking. And I asked my mom about it. I trusted her advice because she's had 5 kids. And she told me it was fine, and we have a doctor's appointment in 2 weeks, so we'll just go and see then, and I'm sure it will be fine, because it wasn't like it was a ton. It was just like enough to where I had to change my underwear. But yeah. On February 12th, I woke up, just a normal day. I was getting ready for my appointment. I didn't drink as much water as I normally did. It was just a very busy morning. I didn't have time to sit down and drink my water like I normally do. We go to the doctor's appointment, and it's just very busy in the waiting room. A lot of people, and I overhear one of the nurses say that the doctor is very busy. She has a lot of deliveries at the hospital. She's going back and forth. When I saw her, she just seemed kind of like, okay, let's get in and out of here. You know, it was just a normal appointment, just to check up. But I did want to ask her about the fluid leakage and just see if there's like some kind of way we can test or do an ultrasound. I thought we would just do an ultrasound real quick and see how much fluid I had and send me on my way. And I was a little bit nervous about it, but I wasn't extremely like freaking out. Like, my mom had told me it was fine. And I know a lot of comments are like, you're so stupid for listening to your mom, trust your instinct. And I know I'm like kicking myself because she probably wouldn't have been born early if I had gone in when I originally had the leakage. So I know, trust me. Just checked the heartbeat, everything was fine, and measured my belly and told me everything was good. And if I had any questions, then that would be the time to ask. And I asked her about the fluid leakage that I thought I was having, and her face just got very serious. She is normally really friendly, and I hadn't had any issues with her in the past, which I'll get to that later about the issues with my doctor. But up to that point, she had always been really friendly, and she was just smiling, and then her face just went completely what? She was basically yelling at me, lecturing me that I should have gone in earlier. I mean, it's my first pregnancy. I'm 16. I don't know what you want me to tell you at this point. Sorry. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what fluid leakage is and what isn't. Through the whole process, she just wasn't a very professional person about the whole situation. But anyways, like I said, I will explain all of that later. So yes, she was like, why didn't you call when you originally had it? You need to go to the hospital right now and get a test done, and, like, go. Like, she's, like, rushing us out of there. We didn't even schedule the next appointment. She was just like, go now, you need to go. I'm, like, freaking out at how much she was freaking out. It scared me how serious she was about it. It made me realize, like, whoa, like, she could come today. So I get in the car, and I'm, like, trying not to freak out. Mom's like, it's fine. Calm down. Don't freak out until you absolutely need to once you know she's actually coming. Just for now, try not to freak out. And so I'm texting Landon in the car on the little drive to the hospital, and I'm like, keep your phone near you. I might be going into labor today. I had fluid leakage, which he already knew, and the doctor is sending me to the hospital. I'm like, don't go to work today, that kind of thing. By the time I got into the elevator and into the building, my mom calmed me down enough to where I wasn't, like, freaking out. I went up to the front desk, and they started signing us in, and I thought I was just going to go into a back room and get a swab and be told, okay, she's not coming today, it was just discharge, go home. So I really didn't think I'd be checked into the hospital. So, I mean, right after I calmed myself down, I started freaking out again when I realized I was, like, actually being admitted and hooked up to monitors and everything. So we go in there, and they tell me to sign stuff and put my birthday and all that kind of stuff when you sign into the hospital. And I was just too nervous to even write anything. Like, she'd ask me something, and I'd be like, I don't know my birthday. Like, I literally forgot everything. So after we get signed in, they send me to a room, and they hand me a gown. And I'm like, whoa, I don't really need to get in this gown right now. I just need a swab. Like, I don't think you guys understand. I'm not having my baby right now. And so I go and get dressed in the bathroom, and I'm, like, shaking, and I'm like, this is my 33-week appointment. There's no way she's coming today. She can't come today. She's only 33 weeks along. So I get onto the bed, and she straps me up to a monitor that monitors the baby's heartbeat and all that fun stuff. And they saw that I was having contractions. I guess I had been having them for about a day. I didn't know that's what they felt like. I thought she was just moving around. It was very, very mild. Again, I'd never had a baby before, so I didn't really know what a contraction felt like. She looked at me and she asked me, do you feel that? And I'm like, no. And then they started getting a little bit stronger after that, after I realized that that's what it was, and I was kind of in my head like, oh, a contraction. So after that, I kind of realized, like, oh, I guess I was having contractions. She asked me how much water I had had, and I was like, oh, I guess I hadn't really had a lot of water today. And so she's like, well, you seem dehydrated. We're going to hook you up to an IV. They did a little swab and checked if I was leaking fluid, and they sent it down. So at that point, the nurse she was super nice, by the way. I loved that nurse. She was just telling me, like, you're fine. It was just, you're dehydrated. That's why you're having contractions. And those go away. They're very mild. I'm sure you're going to be home in about 2 hours. We're going to get the test back, and they're going to tell you you're not leaking fluid. Like, you're fine. So at that point, I'm like, it's okay, Landon. You can go to work. I'm texting. I'm like, everything's fine. False alarm. Baby's not coming today. And then we got the results back from the test, and that just further confirmed it. I was like, okay, well, I'm fine now, and I guess I'm going home soon. My doctor came in. She had just finished a delivery. Normally they would have just sent me home, but since my doctor was there, they decided, hey, why not check her cervix since she's having a little bit of contractions. But they did die down by then. They thought I was going to go, and they just wanted to check my cervix real quick. But had my doctor not been there, they probably wouldn't have. It was just kind of a thing like, hey, since she's here, might as well just check in on me. And so she checked my cervix, and it hurt a lot more than I expected. She goes up in there, and I'm like, ow. She just looks at the nurse. She just looks at the nurse like, and then she looks at me, and I'm like, what? What is it? And she just starts shaking her head. And I'm like, hello, say something. Literally, it felt like forever since she didn't say anything. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, she was freaking me out. And I just knew something was up. And she was just like, you're 5 centimeters dilated. After that, my head was just spinning. Everything happened really fast. The doctor grabbed the machine and looked at an ultrasound and saw that she was breech. So I was like, okay, C-section. That's just great. Just add that to the list. Oh, of course she's breech. Just my luck. She's breeched. So after the doctor tells me she's breech, she kind of mumbles under her breath, like, if you would have gone in when you were supposed to, this wouldn't be happening. And now your baby's going to be born prematurely and she might not make it. Like, are you kidding me? You're my doctor, first of all. You're supposed to be making me feel safe. And you're seriously telling me my baby might not make it? Like, that's the one thing they're not supposed to tell you. Especially when it wasn't that severe of a situation. Like, one person was telling me it's fine. A lot of babies are born that early. It's not super serious. And then my doctor's over here telling me that she might not make it. Like, that's the last thing I want to hear before going into surgery. Another nurse came in and put something in me to try and stop the contractions. It made me feel like crap. I got super, like, hot and dizzy and loopy, and I just felt horrible. So there was, like, 3 things going on at once. Like, this nurse is trying to hook me up to whatever medicine on my IV. This one's about to put a catheter in me. My legs are spread wide open on the table. And then this nurse is trying to draw my blood. There's like 3 things going on at once. And I haven't even told Landon that she's coming yet. It was just crazy. And mind you, I had went into... My doctor's appointment was at 2 o'clock. I ended up checking into the hospital around 2:45. And she ended up being born at 6:22. So it all happened very, very fast. So after that, they put the catheter in me, they gave me the medicine, and they were just kind of going to wait and see what happens. And the plan was basically, since she was a preemie and there wasn't a NICU where I was, they were going to transfer me an hour and a half away to Pensacola. So that way, once they took the baby out, they could have a NICU staff ready and they don't have to transport the baby. But I was too far along, my contractions were getting stronger, and I hadn't really, during the whole process, felt a super strong contraction. The worst was probably, like, equal to the worst period pain I had probably ever had, but it was definitely not as bad as everyone says it was, which I know everybody's different, and I'm sure actual contractions are really bad, but it just never got to that point where I felt them. So yeah, I was having too many contractions, and they weren't slowing down. So they kind of decided after a while of me being on the medicine to try and slow the contractions down that it just wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to be able to transport me, and she was going to be born here and then transported to the NICU. And just realizing that I would be separated from her right after she was born, it was just like scared me even more to go into surgery. So I finally text Landon and I'm like, the baby's coming right now. And like, he was getting ready for work. I told him, okay, you should probably go to work today. Everything's fine. I'm going home. And he's like about to leave for work. And I'm like, never mind. She's coming right now. They told me I was going to the C-section in about 30 minutes. I knew he wasn't going to be able to make a 12-hour drive in 30 minutes. So obviously he wasn't going to be able to make it to her birth. So they were making plans for him to get a flight the next morning. I got to call him for a little bit before I actually went into surgery. Through the whole process, I was very calm, and all the nurses were like, how are you so calm right now? I don't know, I think I was just in shock, and plus the medicine just kind of made me feel like not moving or anything. But when I called him and like realized, wow, I'm really about to have a baby right now, it just kind of all set in, and I started crying, and I was like, I'm scared, and he just was calming me down, like, it's okay, you can do it. And then I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't have a hospital bag packed, I am not going to be able to do a maternity photo shoot. My baby shower is in a few days. I hadn't even realized it up until just that point when I was about to go in. I was like, there's so much that needs to happen. And a few days before she was born, I was like, maybe I should pack a hospital bag just in case. And my mom was like, no, it's fine. That's way too early. You're going to need stuff out of the bag, and you just should wait until you're farther along. And it seems like a theme through this whole process that my mom tells me one thing, and she's completely wrong about it. So my dad came, and he brought a few things that I knew I needed, like a toothbrush and stuff like that, but it wasn't packed how I wanted it to be packed. But, what are you going to do about it? So then the nurse comes in and gives my mom some scrubs and a mask. They tell me I could only have one person in the room with me, and obviously I chose my mom. And they said she can't record, which I really wanted to video, but I did get a lot of pictures. After being in labor for about 3 hours, it was time to go in and have her. So I go into the operating room, and my mom can't come in with me at first, and she's waiting outside with my dad. And so I'm just in the room by myself, and they tell me to lean over, and they put a needle in my spine, laid me down, and my toes started getting numb, and everything just kind of gradually got number. And they started getting ready, and they put oxygen in my nose, and my mom came in. So I'm sitting there as they're getting me ready, and I'm like wiggling my toes to see if I can still wiggle them. And I'm like, they better not start cutting into me because I can still wiggle my toes. I didn't really feel much except for like pulling and tugging. And my mom was with me, and we were just kind of talking, and I'm like, well, did they start yet? And she's like, I don't know, I don't think so. I don't think they started yet. But I'm like, it feels like they started. And I tell her to go look, and she's like, I don't want to look. And then the one of the nurses looks over to me, and like, yeah, they're well done. They're like halfway done already. I'm like, what? I didn't even know they started. I'm just laying there, just ready to meet her. I kind of got past all the stress and the nervousness, and I was just ready to have her pulled out of me. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, this is my last few moments before I'm a mom. I just felt ready, though. I was like, okay, I'm ready. It's time. I felt them push on my stomach, and they pulled her out. So then the baby comes out, and she's not breathing at first. They're wiping her off, cutting the cord, that kind of stuff. And one of the doctors says, oh, she's here, she's beautiful. And my actual doctor says, don't get ahead of yourself, she's not breathing yet. Or something like that. And I didn't hear it. My mom heard it. There was too much going on. She didn't tell me till later that she said that, but I was so done with that doctor at that point. She was just very rude that whole day. I felt like since she was so busy, she just didn't want to be there, and didn't feel like dealing with me. And I'm definitely going to be putting in a complaint and writing her up on that. So she was born, and they cut the cord, and they kind of lifted her up above the little sheet so I could see her. That's the first time I saw her, and it was just, like, so surreal. I just looked at her, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I can't explain the emotions I was feeling. It was just, like, wow. It's just an amazing feeling, like, looking at someone you just met and knowing that you're going to know them and love them for the rest of your life. It was literally for 2 seconds, though, and after that, I was just sitting there all giddy, but they took her away, and I was just like, give her back, I want to hold her. And then I heard her cry. They took her away to the other side of the room, and they were kind of making sure she was okay, doing her little test. I heard a big cry, and I was like, okay, she's good. So they start stitching me back up, and they bring her to me, and they put her right next to me, and I get to hold her for a little bit and kiss her, and it was just amazing, and probably one of the best moments of my life. And I didn't get to see her for quite a while after that. They stitched me back up, and I'm just kind of sitting there. So after that, they wheel me into another room. So I stay in that room for about 3 hours. So the doctors were with her. I obviously couldn't walk, so I couldn't go see her, but my parents could, and my sister got out of the hospital too. They took pictures for me and came back and showed me, and at that point they had put a tube in her mouth and oxygen up her nose and a ton of wires on her, which it was really sad to see. But everything was okay. She wasn't in horrible condition. She was breathing all right. Obviously, she's a preemie, so she wasn't developed enough to completely breathe on her own. Everyone took turns going to see her, and I felt super sad because I couldn't go see her. I just had to sit in the hospital room. So eventually, the transport team comes in. They're getting her ready to be transported in the ambulance, and I'm just waiting for them to wheel her into my room to say goodbye to her before she leaves. I'm super excited to see her again. They wheel her in. She's in a little incubator. I just got to see her again before she left. And in that incubator, she looked so small. I hadn't really realized how small she was when I was holding her because I was kind of at a weird angle. But seeing her, like, full body, it was like, whoa, she is so tiny. I put my hand in and got to feel her, and I just remember she was so soft. I just got a few minutes to just touch her and be with her before they took her away for a few days, and I couldn't see her. And that was really hard, saying goodbye to her. Obviously, I was crying, and I was just nervous that that might be the last time I saw her. And just, I don't know, it just got in my head because of what my doctor was telling me, saying that she might not make it, and I was just super scared that I wouldn't see her again. So after that, they sent me into my room, got me all set up. I had to pump every 2 hours, so I was doing that. That night I couldn't sleep. I was just really uncomfortable, a lot of beeping and monitors. And the next day, Landon was coming in early in the morning, and so I asked my sister if she can come in and do makeup for me because I wanted to look not dead when I saw him. So she came in and did that for me and hung out with me for a little bit. My dad picked Landon up from the airport. At that point, my mom went to the hospital and Landon stayed with me and took care of me in my hospital. So my mom was sending me a ton of pictures. She was with her all day in the NICU, and I was just glad that somebody was with her because I couldn't be with her. And since that day was my last day in the hospital, they do like a, you get one like nice free meal from the deluxe menu. I got that on my last night there, and me and Landon shared a nice little dinner date at the hospital. And all night we were just looking at pictures of her. We couldn't sleep. We just cuddled in my little hospital bed and looked at pictures of her all night and just talked. The next day, I got discharged from the hospital. Landon carried me downstairs, and then we went back to my house and just kind of packed a few things up and then headed towards her hospital, which is an hour and 30 minutes away. We got to the hospital. I still couldn't really walk, so Landon just wanted to run up there and meet her, but they had to lug me in a wheelchair all the way up the elevator and everything. We went into the room and got to meet her. That's her. You touch her?
I think my hands are too cold.
No, it's okay. She's got a warmer right
Scrub her
here.
hair.
Put it under the heater.
It's fine.
She's so soft.
It was just the most amazing moment seeing him meet his daughter for the first time, and I just felt complete as a family. Like, that was the first time we'd all been together as a family, and it was just so amazing. Like, this is my family now. He was so scared to touch her. He was shaking. And then we got to hold her, and he changed his first diaper. He got to feed her, and it was just amazing. It was an amazing day meeting her. Yeah, and after that, we spent a week in Pensacola. Went to the NICU every day and spent time with her and went home and slept. Sometime in the middle of the week, we got a call from her doctor. They told us that she was breathing funny. They thought she might have an infection, and obviously with how little she is and her underdeveloped immune system, her getting an infection would be very serious. So we were super scared. I was crying. I remember my mom saying God wouldn't bring such a beautiful baby into this world just to take her out a few days later. And it was just very, it's very emotional. I didn't think I would get emotional during this video, but I don't know. I thought she wouldn't make it. And I was just so, she was pretty healthy during our whole stay, but that one day they just weren't sure, and she had to get x-rays and everything. So I can't imagine having a baby that was in more critical condition than she was, because that was just horrible, thinking that she wouldn't make it even for a few hours. After a few hours, they ran some tests and told us she was in the clear, and sometimes preemies just don't really know how to breathe, and they kind of forget. And after a week of being there, Landon had to leave. It was really hard seeing him say goodbye. I cried a lot. He cried. And one more week after that, she got to come home. Everyone in the NICU was amazing. I had so many great nurses. I met so many different moms in the NICU who were going through similar situations. If it weren't for the support of all the people in my life and all the nurses, I don't think I would have been able to stay sane during her stay in the NICU. But I really appreciate everybody's help through that time. As of right now, she's 5 weeks old tomorrow. She's been perfectly healthy. We haven't had any issues. She's growing amazingly. So again, I'm sorry it's been so long, and I should be back on my normal schedule. And I'm sorry for this video being so long. It's a crazy story. Thank you for all of the support. Everybody has been so amazing. I do read all of the comments. I may not be able to respond to every single one, but I do read them all. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the story of her being born. Definitely the most crazy day of my life. One second I'm going in for a checkup, and the next second I have a daughter. So thank you so much for following me on my journey, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. Hi. What are you doing in there? Oh. Tell me about it. Cocoa Bean, you're not finished. You finished your babas.